Welcome or welcome back. We are going to be looking at the very last category in the series, and it's the singles and pairs. They're all closed and they all have fairly high values. So we'll be going in depth with each line, each hand. So showing you the tiles that are not in this category is a lot simpler than showing you all the tiles. No jokers. There are no jokers in this category because it is singles and pairs. So the tiles I chose to use are a fan favorite. These are my triple layer lucite tiles from Hong Kong. They're 1970, so they're vintage 1970 tiles. And I used them in my first video when I talk about the tiles. And they're for Western play, as you can see, they have the 9 there. And when they have the numbers, that means that they're for the Western market versus the Asian market. And they're just gorgeous. Let's get into the hands here. And this is the first one. In this category, it's really important to read your parentheses because some you have to do exactly the numbers, others you have a little flexibility. So this is a mix. This first hand's a mix. You have to use a pair of north, an east, and a W, so singles, pair of south, and then any 4 consecutive suits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have to be pairs. It says any one suit, any 4 consecutive numbers. Whatever 4 consecutive numbers you have to all be the same suit. And remember that the winds are not suited. They are what they are, but you do have to use the letters news such as this. One thing I want to say is that I just got back from the Palm Springs tournament, and I think I'm going to do my next video on Journey to the Tourney. I will have a video on getting ready for a tournament and playing a tournament. I just wanted to mention that. Let's take a look at this first hand here. So this is what the hand looks like. I chose to use cracks, and I chose to start at 3 because you don't have to start at 1. It's just that these numbers have to be consecutive ascending. So it has to be 3, 4, 5, 6. It cannot be 6, 5, 4, 3. Well, you can redo them or move them around. But the point is that they have to be ascending. I have my pair of norths. I have my 2 singles, the east and the west together. And I have my pair of south, my news, pair of cracks, 3 cracks, pair of 4 cracks, pair of 5 cracks, pair of 6 cracks. I've actually done this hand a couple times when I'm paying attention. So this is what the blocks look like. Pair, single, single, pair, 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 pair. And of course, no jokers are in this hand. But this hand has come in a couple times for me. I really like it. Again, it's a closed hand and it's worth 50 points. And of course, I'm going to mention this again and again. If the discard is your last tile that you need for Mahjong, you can pull that discard and call it for Mahjong. If it's your last tile that you need for Mahjong, you can call it from a discard. And then you put it on top of your rack, and then you expose your Mahjong and show everybody how smart you are. That's the first hand in singles and pairs. Here's the second hand of a pair of flowers, single tiles of 2, 4, 6, 8, and then the matching dragons in whatever suit you choose for that one or is coming into your hand. And then we have another group of single tiles, 2, 4, 6, 8, and our matching dragons with that suit you have chosen. And reading the parentheses, any 2 suits with matching dragons, and it's closed hand at 50 cents. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Also, if you notice, like the hands in the singles and pairs, they represent most categories on the card. Okay, and this is what the hand looks like in tiles. So we have our pair of flowers. I chose to do the dots for the first single grouping of tiles, 2, 4, 6, 8. The corresponding dragon would be the soap dragon or the white dragon. Those correspond with dots. And then I chose the BAMs for the second grouping of single tiles, 2, 4, 6, 8. And the green dragon corresponds with BAMs. So we have pair, single, 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 pair, single, 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 pair. And that's what the blocking looks like. And these hands, the closed hands, it's not that they're easy, but if you pay attention, you're probably going to be able to create them more often than you think you can. I found that true for me in that knowing this category means that I can see tiles coming in that would fit this category. And you have to be careful because you can't use jokers. So you have to have pretty much, you're well on your way developing this hand if that's the direction or the category you're going to go. And you might be looking at, okay, how can I pivot? So this one, you might be seeing how you might be able to pivot to the 2, 4, 6, 8 area if this kind of falls apart. Okay, I'm going to try it this way to see if it's a little easier so I'm not covering up the whole card. So the next line, third line down, third hand, is from the 3, 6, 9 category, of course. So we have pair of 3, pair of 6, pair of 9, one suit, pair of 3, pair of 6, pair of 9, another suit, and then a third suit, a pair. Now this can be either 3, 6, or 9. These have to be 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9, but this one can be 3, 6, or 9. So in the parentheses, it says any 3 suits, pair 3, 6, or 9 in the third suit. So the pair, which this is the third suit, as it says, can be 3, 6, or 9. It's a closed hand, 50 cents, no jokers. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. All right. So the way that they have it blocked on the card, on the National Mah Jongg League card, that can look really overwhelming. So I kind of separated them here because you're just dealing with, in one suit, pair, 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 3, 6, 9, one suit. And then the same thing here, pair, 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 3, 6, 9, one suit. And then I chose a 6 bam for the third suit. So this can be 3, 6, or 9. It just has to be the third suit from the 2 suits that you choose. So I think that's fairly straightforward. Don't let those blocks overwhelm you. If you can split them up in your head, pair, 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 pair. And again, down here is what the blocks look like, all pairs. So splitting up those blocks can be really helpful. Are you dealing with pairs or are you dealing with single tiles? So this hand is all pairs and 3, 6, 9 area. Okay, so we're looking at our fourth hand down here, and this is from consecutive runs. So we have a pair of flowers, a pair of 1, 2. It could be any 2 consecutive numbers, but these have to be all the same consecutive numbers. And they're all pairs. So any 3 suits, any 2 consecutive numbers. And it's a closed hand worth 50 cents. So whatever 2 consecutive numbers you have, they all have to be the same. And let me show you what that looks like. So this is what it looks like in tiles. We have our pair of flowers. I chose to go with 5, 6 for my 2 consecutive numbers. 5, 6 in cracks, pair, pair. 5, 6 in dots, pair, pair. 5, 6 in bams, pair, pair. And again, the blocks are just all pairs. This is an all pair hand. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, which makes up a mahjong hand of 14 tiles. And this is, again, it's fairly straightforward. And I do recommend practicing these with tiles. You'll have that muscle memory. I can tell you from experience, from me doing each category, my skill level has increased just from doing these videos. So I've played hands that I may not have paid too much attention to because I've been putting together these hands from the card. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, this is our hand from the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 category. Again, this is all pairs. Pair of 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all one suit. And then in the other 2 suits, you have a pair and a pair. And this can be 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9, these 2 ones. So any 3 suits, pairs, any like odd numbers in opposite suits. So again, these pairs here can be any of the odd numbers, but they have to be the same odd numbers. You can't have a pair of 7s and a pair of threes, it has to be both ones, both threes, both fives, both sevens, both nines. Closed hand, 50 cents. And let's take a look at what that looks like in tiles. So again, we have a hand that's all pairs. And I chose to do dots for my main suit. So I have a pair of 1 dot, pair of 3 dots, pair of 5 dots, pair of 7 dots, pair of 9 dots. And then I chose the number 5 for my last 2 pairs. And crack and bam, since those are the 2 left. So I have a 5 crack in a pair and a 5 bam in a pair. And again, the blocks are all pairs. And that's a 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 hand. And again, I encourage you to practice these with tiles. They can just look overwhelming on the card when you're looking in that section. But when you lay them out with your tiles, it helps kind of take away that feeling of overwhelm or, oh my gosh, I can't go into that category. Okay, so this is the last hand in the singles and pairs category. It's called the big year hand because we have 3 suits in the year, 2025 in all 3 suits. And we have a pair of flowers. Now remember that the 0 is the soap or the white dragon. So when you see 0 on the card, that's not a dragon. That means that is a 0, but you have to use the soap dragon. You can't use anything else to represent 0. We have our pair of flowers or pair of seasons. Like I said, you can mix those in American Mahjong. I have the first suit as BAM 2025, single, 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 single. Second suit, cracks 2025, single, 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 single. And then the third suit, 2025, single, 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 single. All 3 suits are used, no jokers. That's what this hand looks like. And it's really a thrill to get it. I have not gotten it yet. I have until April, until the new card comes out. So that's what this looks like. And I will be showing you some older cards like I have in the past. We can look and see what the singles and pairs look like on those vintage cards or even antique cards now. So the 1956 National Mah Jongg League card was the first card that singles and pairs were introduced into the National Mah Jongg League. And let's take a look. So there weren't very many. There's 2 hands there, and they're just pairs. I don't see any singles. And just looking at the hand, I see the red, white, and green. I like how they marked that there. So they're calling it the no flowers hand. But those were the first, that's the first pairs section right there, soon to be singles and pairs. So let's look at the first panel of the rules. And if you want, you can go ahead and pause the video and take a closer look. I know that some of you enjoy doing that and seeing how the rules have evolved over time. Here is the back panel showing the rest of the rules, the miscellaneous, Mahjong in error, rules for bettors, and Charleston. Let's take a look at the hands. So we have our bouquet hands. They're concealed. Interesting. I like how they have the flowers counted out for the hand. They have 1 bouquet hand that's exposed. So all those others are concealed, it looks like. And there we have our no flowers hand, which are pairs. This is our middle panel. And this is where you have the septets. And it's 7 and 7, which is 14. I don't think we have seen that for many years. We have our dragon hands. We have our wind hands. Oh, interesting. So they have dragons and wind separate. 3, 6, 9, 1 and 9, it looks like. Okay, 2s and 8s. And here we have the third panel, which it looks like they continue with the 7 and 7 theme. Same numbers. 1's 2, odds, 1, 3, 3, 5, 5, 7, 7, 9. And then we go down into evens, 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 8. In 1960, jokers were introduced, and it started with 2 big jokers. And this is the card from that year, 1960-61. So we're looking on the panel here, and if you look at the very bottom, 8C, it says big jokers may replace any tiles in any hand for anything. So that means that jokers could be used in singles and pairs. And that started in 1960. And here's the back panel for those of you that are interested. Again, you can put the video on pause and take a closer look. And here's the front panel from the 1960-61 card. We have the consecutive runs. And it's so interesting, closed hand, exposed hands there. As we're looking down to the run 3, 5, 7, 9. So just taking a peruse around. Here's the middle panel that we're looking at. They have the 2, 4, 6, 8. And then it looks like it is moving down to 3, 6, 9. Any like numbers are there on the bottom. And this is the third panel. So the last panel, we have any like numbers. It's interesting how they've changed up the design of the card, moving around the categories throughout the years. And they've got the quints in the last part of the card there. So I thought I'd show singles and pairs from the 2011 card. That's just a little more recent. And this is what it looks like from 2011. So we have our consecutive run. Well, we have the news hand, and then we go into consecutive runs, and then the odd hands. Looks like 2, 4, 6, 8 there. And we move on down to 3, 6, 9. And the 9, 9, 8, 7 hand, that's interesting because you cannot change those. You have to use the 9, 8, and 7. It would tell you that you could use any consecutive numbers if that was okay. And then that last line there is the big year hand for 2011. So in 1984, with this card, they declared that jokers could no longer be used in singles and pairs. So from this point on, we could not do that. And here it is written up at the top in big bold red letters, joker or jokers can only be used to replace any tile in a pung, kong, or quint. And jokers or jokers can never be used for a single tile or in a pair. And that's where this began. Thank you so much for stopping by. I sure do appreciate it. And if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I see them. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.